Actor and director Seth Rogen recently commented on why he believes President Donald Trump won the election in 2024, saying that people got sick of effing hippies doing acid. I wrote this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. Rogen made these comments in an interview with Esquire promoting his new TV series, The Studio, which debuts on Apple TV Plus, I guess, at the end of March. And before he decided to comment on why he believed President Donald Trump won, he first commented on what his and Hollywood's response will be to President Donald Trump winning a second term as president of the United States. And he said this: "It's not like we sit down like, all right, new president, what movie do we write? I assume that's what Adam McKay is doing, but it's not how we choose what we're going to work on next." So I think this is a total load of crap that he's spinning here. Obviously, he does admit that Adam McKay is going to be doing this. We know that other people are going to be doing this as well. Ben Stiller recently commented on this during an appearance on the On with Kara Swisher podcast, and Stiller said, "Look, I like many people after the election who didn't vote for Trump kind of wanted to just sort of hide for a moment and just not have to deal with the reality. And I think now it's sort of this moment in time where, okay, this is the reality. It's not the first term. We have to look at it. We have to look at ourselves and do what we feel is right to be who we want to be in this moment." So that's a bunch of gobbledygook talk right there. But then we realize he is talking about making movies, television shows about President Donald Trump, using them as allegories to basically malign President Trump, malign the MAGA movement, malign President Trump's administration, because he goes on and says this. So I think that should all be what you're expressing, and it should all be part of what you want to say. So yeah, that movie Bagman, I'd love to get that movie made right now, because I feel like it sort of tells a story of what happens when people do the right thing in the face of somebody who's trying to go past the bounds of what their power is. Now, what kind of message could you be sending when you're saying something like that? Who could you really be making the movie about? I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. He's clearly talking about making movies, TV shows about President Donald Trump, and specifically this movie Bagman that he's trying to get made. And then, so not only have we seen this from other people, but we know that Rogen himself is all in on the woke DEI agenda. This is what he said back in 2021 when he was asked by Entertainment Weekly's Lee Greenblatt what his role in Hollywood was when it came to diversity. And he said, "I mean, personally, I think I am just actively trying to make less things starring white people." That's right. The guy is literally a racist, and he discriminates against white people. And he admitted it. He admitted it publicly in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, which they have tried to memory hole. They've literally removed the YouTube video from YouTube where he says that. But that's what he said in 2021. He said that, and I think this is what he believes, because he goes on and says, "And if I'm succeeding or I'm not, I'm very much looking to have a far more diverse group of writers and directors and actors that we generally work with, because that group is not incredibly diverse, you know?" So that's how I've been trying to deal with it, is just to actively take, as they would say, anti-racist measures to assure that some work is being done to acknowledge that black people are very marginalized in American society. So he admits to being a racist, saying that he's going to make less things starring white people, and then says he's engaging in so-called anti-racist measures, which we all know now are actual racist measures. So this idea that he's not going to be making things about President Donald Trump, about the MAGA movement, about the part of America, the people of America that he doesn't like, is just absurd. He's clearly going to be doing that 100%. I don't believe him when he says that's not what he's going to do. That's what this guy does. From there, Rogen shared his opinion of how he views the United States of America and one of the reasons he believes President Donald Trump won. So actually, just to make it clear, this guy is the producer of The Boys, right? He produces The Boys. So if we just go to producer here, he produces The Boys, right? And The Boys is one of the most political, anti-Trump television shows out there right now. So the idea that he's not going to be making movies and TV shows about President Trump is ridiculous, because he's already been doing it, right? Like, come on, let's be real. But anyways, back to his observation about why he believes President Donald Trump won. He says, "I personally try not to go too dark on all of it and think like, oh, are we on the precipice of global societal collapse? Since the end of the Civil War, America has remained a very divided country in a lot of ways. I think that's just absurd on its face. I'm not even 40, and I remember a time when the American people were highly unified. Obviously, you can look to post 9/11. You can also look to kind of pre 9/11. I feel like there was still very unified country for the most part. I don't think we really started seeing a lot of divides until the election of President Barack Obama and all of the things he instituted and began doing during his time as president of the United States. I think that is what I have observed in my short time on this earth. Anyways, Rogan then goes and says, people get sick of seeing effing hippies doing acid and effing on their lawns, and they're like, let's effing clean up these streets a little bit. What I think is absolutely ironic about this is it's this guy has been making all of this stuff, right? Like, what does IMDb say he's known for? Sausage Party, Superbad, This Is the End, Pineapple Express. What do all of those movies have? They've got people doing a bunch of drugs, and there's all kinds of fornication happening in those movies. So, yeah, people are sick of that and they're sick of you because you're the one who made that. I think there is some truth to what he is saying here. People are tired of this stuff, especially when it comes to their entertainment. And Seth Rogen is one of the guys who's making a lot of that stuff. And again, he's not just doing it when he's directing or acting. He's also putting money behind a lot of this stuff. You can look at The Boys. But then he goes and says, and then people get sick of seeing effing dorks cleaning up the streets, and they go back the other way. Do they? Do they? This whole idea of the pendulum swing is, I think, complete and utter baloney. Sausage baloney, to quote my good friend Culture Casino. Or baloney sausage, I think, is what he likes to use. But no, they don't. We don't see this going back the other way. We see it continually progressing ever further into degeneracy. I mean, just look at what one of the major societal cultural issues we have right now. It is this transgender ideology. No one was talking about that 10 years ago. No one was. But now we are. We aren't talking about moving rightward. I mean, there are obviously people like myself and others that do want us to go back, but for the most part, the culture is progressing ever towards the left, and the left leads you down into hell. Progresses you further into degeneracy. And that's exactly what Seth Rogen talks about here. So as much as he talks about this pendulum swifting and stuff, going back and forth, he also says the ball will roll onwards. He says, that's not to say it doesn't have very real and troubling ramifications on many people's lives, but I try to maintain hope that the ball will roll onwards. Well, how does the ball roll onwards if it's a pendulum swinging back and forth? It can't. It can't. So this whole idea of the pendulum swinging, he doesn't even believe it when he's trying to use it to try to say that's what's happening. He actually believes in the ball rolling onwards. And what does it roll onwards to? It rolls onwards into hell, into degeneracy. You fall down that slippery slope, right? You can go back. Where did a lot of this start? You can look at the sexual revolution in the 60s. You can look at the proliferation of birth control. Then you can look at the normalization of homosexual unions, and now they're trying to normalize transgenderism. I don't even want to imagine what they're going to try to normalize next. What is the next step? I mean, it's sick. It's sick and it's evil, and this is what this guy promotes. I mean, you can see it again in his movies and television shows, the things that he is making. He is the one pushing all of this stuff. He wants to move that ball onwards, is what he says. So, it's sick. It's absolutely sick stuff. And this is why we have to say no to this stuff. We cannot budge an inch, because if we budge an inch, they take a mile. And that's what we have to do. We have to say no. We have to say no. It's a very easy word to say, but it can be very difficult as well, because there's lots of societal pressures. There's lots of things that can try to influence us to get us to not say that, but it is a very strong and powerful word. It is something that we have to do. We have to say no to this evil, and that's what this stuff is. That's what this stuff is. So I expect Seth Rogen is going to be making more of this absolute garbage stuff that he says is one of the reasons why President Donald Trump won, because that's what these people always do. They double down, and he's even admitting here that he's going to do that. The ball will roll onwards. I try to maintain hope that the ball will roll onwards. So that is what he is saying, and we have to say no to this stuff. We actually have to go back. We have to go back. We have to go back to Christ, and that is one of the biggest issues facing our country, facing the world, is the mass abandonment of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. But we can go back to him. He is there. He has his hands open. He wants us to return to him, and we can and we should. But let me know what you guys make of what Seth Rogen had to say here. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.